Howdy folks, Little John. At the wrong end of the brew day. That's all good. Just like to give a, before doing this one, big shout out to all the Patreons. Guys, thanks for your support, it's always great. Helps me with experimenting, make sure I've got things going on. And yeah, doing things like the brew we're doing today. Extra shout out to a couple of new fellas, Stafford Fairhead and Brian Kerr, who have jumped on just in the last week and joined our fray. Hope you enjoy what's been offered on Little John. Anybody else that is interested, check out the link in the bottom. But as for now, let's get on with the actual brew and see what led us to getting here. Howdy folks, Little John in the kitchen, and it's that day has finally arrived. I am doing Kingsley's ginger beer. Yes, the famous Kingsley's ginger beer. I've done ginger beers previously on the channel, and I've been trying to do the Kingsley's version. I followed to some degree, but I've always been unable to get the right tin for the base. So if you go back on the channel, you'll find there's a version with the Country Brewer ginger essence, and last year I did a version using a kit picked up from the Northern Brewing in Woonona, down there in Wollongong, which was their own kit they put together. The core, I think the extras were all fairly similar, but the tin base was different. So this year I've decided to do it properly. Actually pulled my finger out and paid the extra money for postage and got a proper tin posted in. Turns out in the end I probably could have picked one up down in Wollongong last time I was down there, but I had initially planned on doing this a bit earlier than what I have, and I've just got caught up in other things. But anyway, here we are. So, as always, I don't want to be seen as stealing recipes, and I prefer, if I'm going to use someone's recipe, obviously I'm going to give them the kudos and the acknowledgement. And as with Kingsley's Passion Fruit Cerveza, they're brews I had tried myself before doing them on the channel, so I know they're a good quality. I have had many a conversation with Kingsley around with beer and whatnot, and as with the Cerveza, I have asked him directly if he's happy for me to do this brew on the channel, and he is. So this is the recipe. I'll put this up on the screen. So you can come back to that. That's the base recipe we're working at. I am going to be a little bit different, but as we go through I'll show why and where. But that's the base recipe that's going around that most people are going to be working from, and it's even the recipe that Kingsley sort of says. So getting into it, I've got me ginger. So it starts off, it's the Morgan's kit. That's our base, and then we're adding a whack of stuff to it. So I'm going to go through and add each different thing. At the moment, on the pot here, 3 litres of water coming to a boil, and it's almost there. And to that, I need to add some honey, some fresh ginger, and boil that for a little while. So we're going to get that on first. So I've got my ginger. Now, this is always an interesting thing you see with with Kingsley's recipe. Everyone's like, oh, do I need to use that much ginger? Can I use something else? Can I use powdered stuff? The fresh stuff's so dear. Yeah, it is bloody dear, but it's dear for a reason. It's the real deal. Powdered stuff is not the same, and you go through and you read any conversations about the recipe where people have tried replacing fresh ginger with powdered stuff, and invariably they've had poor results. Go and buy your ginger. I've just paid a fraction under $25 for, I don't know, it's about probably 550, 600 grams of fresh ginger, 45 bucks a kilo at the local Woolies. If you've got an Asian grocer or something nearby, you can probably pick up a bit cheaper from there, but I don't have such options, so I've gone for that. Now, in Kingsley's recipe, he says to snap this into bits and stick it in a bloody blender and blend it up. Now, I'm not going to that bloody effort. It possibly a bit easier, but being Chef Kingsley's a bloody cook as well, but I get the processing, trying to expose as much of the ginger to surface, but I know from doing the previous batches that I get really nice ginger result out of just chopping it up like this and putting it in the bowl. So I'm just chopping the ginger into smallish pieces. Now again, this is going to come down to how good your knife skills and stuff if you want to do this. Or if you do want to just break it up and stick it into a blender or food processor. This is where I'm happy, so there we go. So what he's looking for, there's the ginger and the honey. Now the honey, I use fresh local stuff. It actually comes from my daughter-in-law's father. You've seen me using it before on the mead. Beautiful organic honey straight out of his backyard. But obviously, that's her there. You can use any honey you like. And I'm assuming the honey obviously going to have some flavour, but give me a little bit of extra sugars for alcohol. And you can probably play around with which honey you are using at first, but at the end of the day, it's not a big character influence. So just whatever you can lay your hands on. Righto, so the ginger's done. So as I said, we're looking now to just get this into the pot. Yeah, so with the heat off now, but what I want to do first is get the honey in and get it dissolved. And I want to do that while I'm stirring. So what's 250 grams? Which is about a cup, so I'm just going to eyeball this. And that'll be close enough. Now the reason you're turning the heat off on this is just to avoid burning this honey while you dissolve it. If you leave the heat on, there's a chance you're going to burn it, which you don't want. Right, so get the honey in. Then our ginger. Now you want a decent sized pot to do this in. I've got a 6 litre stock pot there. Mix that in. Pop the lid back on. Just pop it on. And I'm going to put some knife feet under that to bring it back to a boil. Just a gentle boil. And it says on the original instructions to boil for 20 minutes and then go to the next stage, which is adding the chilli and the powdered ginger. Doing that for 10 minutes and then add the sugar, the nutmeg, the cinnamon stuff and boil again. Now I have seen where he's commented lately that he just tends to sort of more throw it all more in together, and which is more what I sort of do. I don't think there's a great need to be stretching everything out. I get he's probably initially was trying to infuse that ginger a little bit more and keep the stronger items to have a bit less influence. So while we've got this 10 minutes underway, we're not going to really worry about timing it. We'll get the rest of the stuff going on. So, chili. Now it says 1 bird's eye chili, seeds and all. Now, well, bird's eyes are hot chili, and I like some chili right in my ginger, but I don't want it to be, too hot and going to burn your mouth. I do like a little bit of hit, so I've just gone for 2 normal old red chilies. So these are only relatively, they're mild to a medium heat, they're not really massive. And now, with the chilies, this is obviously a personal taste, whether you want them or not, or how much you want, how much heat you want. So you need to work out for yourself how you're going to go. If you don't eat chili as a normal thing, then you probably don't want too much chili in your ginger beer, but you do need some. It is, it's an important part. You get bite from the ginger, but it's not quite the same as the heat that you get from the chili. So it's up to you what you want to use. If you want a bit less heat, take the seeds out. Scrape the seeds out and just use the actual body of the chili itself. Go for something a bit more milder, up yourself, but that's what I'm using. So 2 red chilies. Now, he likes to throw the powdered ginger in. Now I don't really get exactly why there is powdered ginger in here with all the ginger you've got. You've got the ginger tin, you've got the fresh ginger, but the ginger's there. So 50 gram powdered ginger, that's what I got. So I'm just going to use all that. I'm not going to muck around. Get some whack that heat under there. Now, along with that is dark brown sugar. Now in the intro picture, I've actually got a picture of just normal brown sugar. Because I stuffed up, I went and bloody bought the wrong one. But I do have dark brown sugar here at home, so I will do a swap over. Now I just need to get some weight on this. Now this original recipe, 1 kilo. It says 1 kilo of raw or dark brown sugar. Now again, I have seen where Kingsley has commented about using both or a combination to increase it. And again, that comes down particularly to how strong you want the ginger beer, how much alcohol you want in it. Now, according to this recipe, it's an expected original gravity of 1034 and finish at about 1005. So that comes out around just a bit under 5% alcohol. So that's 5%, but that's not right. No, I think that's where the issue comes from. That is actually a bit low, because that's only 29 points. So it's about 3.5%, maybe 4% in the bottle. So obviously that's where the extra sugar is going to come in. So an extra kilo of sugar over a 23 litre batch is going to get you about another 1% alcohol, so it gets you up around that 5%, maybe into the low 5s. And again, this is going to depend on, I said, what you want. If I'm drinking a ginger beer for me is the same as drinking any beer. It's not, I'm not sitting down and drinking, I'm not going to have a session on the ginger beer. So I want it to have a bit of punch and have some impact. So I'm happy to go a little bit stronger. So I'm going to go for the 1 kilo of the brown sugar and 1 kilo of raw sugar. So now, you probably could use just normal brown sugar if you wanted. I don't think it's going to make a huge amount of difference. And I don't think I'm going to have, I haven't got a kilo of the dark brown here anyway, so I'm going to need to use a mix of both. That's alright. But obviously the dark brown sugar is going to have a bit more higher molasses content, so it is going to leave some sweeter notes in the background, which obviously they're going to work with the chili and all that ginger. So that's not quite half a kilo. So we'll go to the pack here. Okay, so I've got a boil going there. Let's get the lid off that. Put back a little. Don't want to boil them crazy. Just a nice simmer, just to release everything. And that's starting to smell nice and gingery already. So I'm just going to pop this chili in. That's amazing. The rest of our sugar. And I'm just going to get everything in there. I'm happy to do that. And I'll show you what I'm going to do to, as opposed to actually boiling the thing the whole time. I'm probably going to let it sit a little bit. But there's a kilo of our brown sugar. And again, we want to stir this while we're getting it in, because we're going to want it to stick to the bottom. And again, we don't want it burning. And as we get all this sugar in here, this is what you don't want to boil this too hard, because it's turning into quite a rich sugary mix, and we don't want it burning. You get burnt, you burn anything in that pot, you're going to ruin your whole batch. And a little too bright to be doing that. Now, talking the price, that's always an interesting one with this recipe. Started from that before about how much the actual fresh ginger costs. And apart from the fact that it's an important part of the, it is ginger beer, the ginger's a very important part. You've got to seriously look at the overall cost of your brew, what you're comparing it to. It's the same as anything we do. I'm seeing guys that, I don't want to spend $25 on fresh ginger. And these are quite possibly the same guys that are turning around and spending $30, $40 in hops, dry hop on a bloody New England IPA. So not necessarily bloody a completely valid argument. But what I look at, and I've checked the prices today, we're going to brew up, we're going to make up 2 cartons and a bit of final product of alcoholic 5% ginger beer. To go and buy that in the shop, you are looking at a minimum of $80 a carton. Now we're making at least 2 and close to 2.5. So on that mathematics, we are making what would cost you about $200 to go and buy. And it's going to cost you somewhere around $50 to $60 in ingredients. Certainly no more than 60. I haven't completely worked it out. Like I said, 25 bucks worth of ginger. It's about 18 bucks, I think, for the tin. And then everything else, it's got, your sugars and stuff. There's not, the rest of the stuff's only a few dollars at a go. So, yeah, it's the argument of cost is just ridiculous, because you can't compare 60 bucks to $200 worth of it. So, chili's in, powdered ginger's in, sugar. So now we're looking for our nutmeg. Now nutmeg is 2 teaspoons. Now, not massive teaspoons. You want to keep it. Now this is where you don't want to go just getting heavy-handed for the hell of it, because these are things that will leave unusual flavours in your brew that you don't want. Now, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. I haven't got powdered cinnamon, I've got sticks. So I've got 1 stick. I'm going to bruise that up and just toss it in. Well, all good. Yeah, there you go. This is where I'm going to depart from the recipe. Cloves. It says in the recipe 4 whole cloves. Now, I have seen where Kingsley has stopped using the cloves on some recent recipes. And I don't know whether it's become an overpowering thing or not. But it says 2. Sorry, it says 4. I'm going to throw 2 in. And again, this is just so we can say, okay, we stuck to the recipe for the most part. I'm not a big fan of cloves, but we'll see what they're going to add. And the last thing here is the Kefir lime leaves. You know, it says 4 of these shredded. Now, I'm just looking through and I can't actually find. It hasn't got on here where you add these. He's missed these. But we'll get in there. So we just want to shred these up. And I'm going to throw them in now. And as I said, whether this is going to come out exactly as Kingsley sort of intended or not, I don't think it's going to really matter. It's going to come out very much in the ballpark. 5 or 10 minutes difference on these boiling, I don't think it's going to hurt anything. And as I said, I have seen where he's talking about just throwing everything in anyway, just for, because it's just a bit easier to doing some and coming back and whatnot. Okay, so that's it. We've got all our stuff in the pot. The only thing that's left is the actual extract tin. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to boil this for 10 minutes. Turn the heat off, let it sit for 10 minutes with the lid on, and then we're going to add the extract and go to the fermenter. So I'll leave that. I'm going to do a bit of cleaning up, get the fermenter ready, and we'll come back. Where have you been? You've missed all the excitement. I tell you. Yeah, I was talking about not letting the sugars and things burn on the bottom of the pot. Yeah, keen eyes will notice that's not the same pot I was using before. Went out to clean just rinse a few items I've got soaking in the tub. And come back to stock pot, just pouring over. Smoke every bloody where. Absolute horrible, shocking mess. So, yeah, let me tell you, that's a very thick, sticky, sugary syrup. It makes an awful bloody mess when it gets onto your cooktop. I had it down the bloody front of the oven, it was puddling down here on the floor. Anyway, I've now cleaned it up. I need to get a beer into me while I refocus. So, pour myself a glass of chopper IPA while we get this next section underway. So, This is now boiled for probably 20 minutes all up. Smells bloody amazing, it tastes fantastic. I'm just going to move this, that's straight. I'm going to use short, they've got it there above the steam, just to make sure it's all clean and sterile. Now, got the heat off. It's time to get our extract in without the heat on. Yeah. So, got the tin here. Now, under the lid there's a little packet of yeast, 5 grams. And there's also a little packet of yeast nutrient. I'm going to throw both of these into here. I know I should particularly boil the nutrient, but anyway, go in there. And we're going to get our extract tin in. Then just let it sit in there for about 10 minutes, let everything all mix together, and then we'll get over to the fermenter. So just get that happening. Now this is not like your normal beer extract, it's not thick and goopy, so you don't need to stand it in the sink. And again, you don't want the heat on when you're putting this in, just to avoid any chance of burning it. Give that a mix. Pull that out of there. Lid on that, I'm just going to let that sit now for 10 minutes. And have myself a bit of a beer and get the fermenter out here ready to go. Rightio. This is now sat for about 20 minutes. So we're ready to transfer over. So got me sieve. Now I want to keep as much of this crud out of here as I can, so I'm going to stick in grain bag just to make sure we catch as much stuff as we can, that the finer stuff doesn't get through. Kingsley says in the recipe to use a fine stainless steel sieve. I've only got a little stainless steel one, which would possibly work, but I think it might be a little bit too small. So this will do. Get off that. A little bit of a taster on there. Tastes nice. I mean, it's hard to tell. It's very concentrated, but so. Pour everything into the fermenter. Whilst trying to make no more mess than we already have. Okay, so wacko style stuff in there, so it's going to take a little while to feed through. Righto, so I'm halfway through topping this up with water. I took the sieve off here and just sat it over on the pot just to let it finish draining. It was going quite slowly, so I've topped up a little bit while I was doing that. Just giving that bag a really good squeeze. Get all that flask of that juices and everything out of there. So this in. As always, giving this a good slosh as we go. Trying to get some good amount of oxygen in there. Alright, and as you can hear, I've topped this up with water from my naturally occurring water source here in the kitchen. So we're at 23 litres. According to the highly accurate temperature gauge here on the side, it would appear we're sitting around 22 degrees. Now, soon we are going with Kingsley's recipe. At this point I will point out that he says to pitch, top up to 23 litres with cold water, pitch your preferred yeast at 18 degrees, then ferment for 2 weeks at 17 degrees. So we're a little bit above where he tells us to pitch, but too bad, Kingsley, I'm pitching. Only because I can't be bothered frigging around. I just want to get him up and done, get him out in the garage. It's going to be sitting at ambient in the garage, which at the moment is sitting around 15, 16 degrees. It's a little bit cool because at the moment we are running with no air conditioning at all. So where I've normally got a little bit of heat going into the garage, and where ambient in there would be 17 or 18 degrees, it's now sitting down around 15 or 16. It's a little bit cooler, but that's where it is. It's going to be sitting on the bench. I can't get in, I can't go in the fridge at the moment, but a lager in there. So I'm just going to pitch straight on. Now I'm not mucking around with rehydrating and all the rest of it, and if you want to have comments down the bottom about me not rehydrating, go for your life. I'm not too worried. On this one, you're not going to notice any of those nuances that you get from rehydrating or dry pitching, so I'm not too worried. I think Kingsley sort of recommends using a USA 5, something like that. Don't know, I can't say for sure. But I'm going with a Nottingham single pack of that, and just straight on the top. Now, that's it. Got a nice amount of aeration going on there, so I'm pretty happy with that. We'll pop the lid on. I'll get this out of the garage. I'll stick an airlock in there, and all will be nice. So all that's left to do now is grab a sample, get a hydro reading, and see where we're starting at. Here we go. And be nice to me. Looks like we're going to be sitting around pretty much 1040. So if we get down there to our 10.05, which we would be hoping with the amount of sugars, 35, 4.5, that's going to get us pretty much right around that 5% in the bottle. So bang right where we want to be. So I'm very happy with that. So Kingsley's ginger beer, done properly, fairly closely, finally on Little John's. So as always, any questions or any comments, stick them down the bottom. If you haven't got subscribed to Little John, hit the subscribe button down there in the corner, ring the little bell, and come along, get notified when things are happening. If you like the video, like what I'm doing, hit the like button, or even consider looking at Patreon and having a look at what's involved in being a Patreon of Little John. Patreons, as always, cheers. Thanks for your support, guys. But that's me, Little John for today. Kingsley's ginger beer, done. That tastes pretty good. I'm looking forward to that. So I'm out of here. So till I see you again, we're talking beer, drinking beer, we're making beer, good brewing.